it'll add a bit more variety to the range of those sort of products. We're working on some of our own ones at the moment too. We've got some stationary boiler.
Including diesels when I was younger. I grew up in the New South Wales Sea. My father, some of you know him, very, very active bottler. We used to go everywhere. We used to go on holidays. I used to go, we'd take photos. Everywhere we used to go, tend to be places where there were trains. I don't know why that was the case, but anyway, I'd see things on holidays. I'd see things every day going to school. I went to Epping Boys, watched the North Coast daylight go through every morning with Mark 144 on the front. Right, I want to build a model of that. So I thought, okay, what do? I need to build something where steam engines go. So I went into the archives in town, Transport House, got the plans for the Golden Coal stage, thought, right, I'm going to build this. Got some northeastern timber, got some balsa wood, and I built that. And that's why. Well, actually, something looks like that. The only difference is, my one was half the bunker length, because it's just too big. Now, it was an 8-foot long model as it was. I built everything as best to scale as I possibly could, really enjoyed the process. I thought, oh, I like doing this, I'll keep going with steam. Now, I know that's a diesel, is he confused? Well, yes, I probably am. But the first locomotive I built completely from scratch, except for the mechanism, was a 442. Not that one, was 03. But the turntable sitting on this is a Broadmeadow 105-foot turntable. On stage, I was heading down steam's aft. Before she was converted in 0506, completely rebuilt. This was before that. So it's not very clear there, but when you look at it on the computer, you can zoom in, it's very, very clear. Lots of detail comes out. So there's a few more period photos, including one down at Klein on the bottom left there, same class. I wanted to build one of these as opposed to one of the rebuilds, because original is best, isn't it really? So I thought, no, they are Peacock, they designed them, they built them. I wanted the all-spoked wheels, and I wanted the bunker to be the same height as the running board. I wanted it also nicely straight, original, not the A-class rebuilds, not the heavily new builds, but one of the originals. So lots of period photographs. Now, I discovered, and you already know this, locomotives change dramatically over time. That looks nothing like Trevor's 20 class, for example, because his has got lighting, extended bunker, etc. Mine is as I rebuilt. It remained on the other side because of these boxes, so it's important enough for them to not reverse the mechanism over, so who knows why that happened. Anyway, you can see the original short bunker there with the bigger windows. They plated those over with 316 plate later on. That made an enormous difference, huge difference to how accurate the finished model actually became. There you go, there's the cab. Mate, that was so easy to build. It's all fabricated up, it's all dimensioned, you can work it out. Mate, it's so easy. In fact, I'm what's the word for it? Totally convinced you can't send it backwards. I cannot try to build something without plans on this again. You can't do it. It takes forever to try and guesstimate what's going on. Just read it. If you build it all exactly the way it was designed, it should fit together. And basically it did. Not that hard. All right.
Is that timer there to tell me I've got 45 minutes to go, is it? All this new technology. Okay, so as you all know, and I won't talk about Aracoola, that's a photo of Aracoola I took a few years ago, which I was pleased when Chris Harris said to me, that's probably one of the best photos of Aracoola. I love research too. I love detail. I love, you know, as accurate models as I can make, but I want them to run, and I want them to run around a curve that's way, way, way less than prototype. And that means compromise. When John and I talked about what I was going to talk about, we specifically spoke about what about something where we're not trying to talk about tiny little modules that, you know, let's talk about a layout that's, you know, what most, well, what I want, what most people probably want when they're talking about a layout. Taking prototype information and turning it into a layout plan, what do I look for? What might you look for when you're doing that? And that's, you know, that's not prototype specific, it's nothing to do with New South Wales, it's got to do with being a modeller. Things to consider when designing 7mm O-scale layouts, so you probably don't have to consider in other scales. I could be the expert on Morpeth, because who else knows more about it than me? Well, I've been there a couple of times, I read the book, there's only really one. I've got a lot of the photos that weren't public, that haven't been published, you know. And I thought about it, and I've studied those photos really closely. There's only about 20 of them. I've studied those photos really closely, so I know a lot about that line. You know, I've walked along it. So I can pretend I know a lot about Morpeth. Well, I do. I don't live there, but I mean, I know a lot about it. And who knows more about Morpeth than me? Well, I can pretend I know a lot, you know, so a lot about a little, okay? So the weaknesses, the restrictions of roster, you know what ran and what didn't. And pretty much only 30s and 20s ran on the Morpeth line, and that's about it. But I've got a 19. What do I do with that? Well, it's running on it too, so, you know. The limits of the available information. So in other words, there are only 20 photos of the Morpeth line, or maybe 25 probably, that are really much use to me. I thought I'd probably use about 60% prototype. So I call it Morpeth, but there's stuff in there that's not. So I tend to use a blend of both, and it's probably about 60-40. If it got below 50, it would probably be, I'd have to change the name of Morpeth. I feel, you know, that's just a personal thing. So, you know, you use a blend. That photo, that's what I wanted. I wanted that. I find the combination of those end platform cars, that's actually a CCA, so that end isn't platform, but that combination of that logo, that tank logo with the end platform cars and that decrepit, run-down wooden fencing and what really got me, you know what really got me? The E missing off the sign. Don't ask me why, but something about that just really got me, you know. This is the one that sits on, I think I mentioned this before, this is the one that I had blown up, framed, and it sits over my modelling bench. It is my muse, it is my meme. That's Northumberland Street Station. That's the station that was replaced when they built the second station, because it was dangerous. Can you see why it was dangerous? People came down those stairs and almost fell onto the train, you know. And that model is on Morpeth, my layout now, and it's being built. That's another one of the things. You can go and visit that station, it's still there, that's the third station. But that Runnels Mill, I'm about to make a model almost. When I say almost, I mean it's not going to look exactly like that, but I'm making a model of that in the next few months. That mill and that chimney, I couldn't fit the chimney on the layout because it's a portable layout, I haven't got the areas, so there's a chimney on another building, but that mill sits on the river, so the river's on that side, just over there, so the Hunter River runs down there. I don't know why that scaffolding's on the front of the building there. I'll show you a photo later of where it shows the scaffolding. That's the butter factory, which is again on Queen's Wharf. Look at that, that's the second station. So that closed in 1892. So this station had been around for 45 years before the Morpeth line was built. Morpeth line, sorry, not the Morpeth line, the Warren line that Ross was talking about this morning, it was built in the 1920s. I lived in Warren for a while, so I know the line. This had buildings being closed 30 years before that line was laid. So this is one of the oldest lines in the country. So my plan was Muscle Brook. Now I got into Muscle Brook when I used to live in Armidale. I used to drive through it all the time. And I know there's other guys that are modelling it. There's a bloke by the name of Ian Femister who's got a 7mm Garrett, but he's supposed to be doing it in HO. But every time I meet him and say, how's it going? He goes, oh, don't ask. So Muscle Brook was my answer, all right? The photos I'm showing you are essentially what gets me about Muscle Brook. That's the second bridge on Stringybark Creek, the one I built, is that one, and it was based on that photo. for me, the elements of this station are the turntable and roundhouse. And as you can see, it's about 9 stalls, I think it is. It's a lot bigger than the one at Muscle Brook, which is 5. But it's that coal load dumped on the lines there, and what's the name? That crane there that I just love. You know, this is modelable. This is photogenic, but it's photo modelable. It's just brilliant. So what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. So it's 5 stalls bigger. So it's a big roundhouse. It's going to be quite big. But I know this is going to be built sort of.
These are some of the photos taken during the early to mid-construction days of the layout. This is 1945 on a short woods emerging from the tunnel into Coolara Yard. 4 years ago, I changed my direction. The reason being that I had minimum radius curves of 36 inches on my layout, which was causing problems with my locos and rolling stock. I was trying to follow New South Wales practice. 40 years ago, I was modelling this railway on HO scale.
I can't quite remember whose idea it was, but I think sometime over lunch at one of our construction Saturdays, somebody, might have even been me, sort of said, why don't we take the layout to Telford? The more we thought about it, the less likely it seemed to be possible. And then 2014 we had the forum at Kazula, which John was instrumental in getting going. And from the UK came out John Birch, and many of you will have met John at the forum or know of him in other places. John's written several articles for Aracoola for a start. John was an executive vice president of the Gajo Guild. And he actually took it seriously, much to our astonishment. And he said, well, you know, why don't I go back to the Guild and at least ask them if they're amenable to the idea, which he did. And he got a little bit of a positive sort of vibe from them, but nothing formal was decided. But then he decided to free it to formalise things, and he took it to their board meeting in February last year. They were quite keen on the plan, and even managed to come up with a certain amount of funding to make it more likely. Almost immediately there was a torrent of negativity from all these UK modellers about what, you know, almost along the lines of bloody colonials, what are you going to come over here and show us, you know, how to do it, sort of thing. So we accepted the invitation, and that sort of initiated for us about 18 months of fairly intensive work to bring the layout up to the standard that we considered was going to make it, you know, a really great presentation.